It's RT International live from Moscow. Thank you for joining us on this Monday. Finding a place to live in Denmark is harder if your name doesn't sound Danish enough. A new study has found that people with Middle Eastern or exotic-sounding names need to hand in 27% more applications to get a positive response from landlords. We spoke to Tarek Zayed Hussein, who says he's suffered rental discrimination firsthand.
In many ways, we still have systemic discrimination in Denmark. My own story is a great example of that. A year ago, I was going to move to Copenhagen. I started looking for an apartment. It took me months and months and months, and I didn't get any replies. I started thinking whether it had anything to do with my name or with my immigrant background. So what I did was to change my name. I started calling myself Thomas or Peter. And suddenly I was offered a couple of apartments. And suddenly some of the persons who had told me no to get their apartments were saying yes for me.
The Danish Minister of Social Affairs called the situation completely unacceptable, saying non-ethnic Danes have made a major contribution to society. And Tarek Zayed Hussein believes the government must do more than just offer words of sympathy.
At the end of the day, the Danish government and the state, the Danish state in general, has an interest in preventing and making sure that everybody has equal rights, no matter their ethnic or religious background. When you have people, or you have young people like myself who have immigrant youth, if they are discriminated in many ways, at the end of the day, they feel alienated and they don't feel that they can identify with the Danish society. And therefore, it's very important, both from a societal point of view, but also from the point of view of the Danish government, to make sure that we solve this problem, because it can make sure that we prevent a lot of problems in the future.
Well, one Danish citizen with Argentinian origins has started a Facebook page where he tells the stories of Copenhagen's immigrants. He wants to paint a more nuanced image of its newest residents and show people that immigrants should not be a cause for concern. In brief, some other global headlines for you now. A demonstration to mark 7 months since the disappearance of 43 students in southern Mexico ended with crowds attacking local government offices. Yeah, masked protesters repeatedly rammed a stolen truck into the front of the congressional building, destroying the entrance. They then hurled rocks at the windows and ultimately set the truck on fire. They blamed the authorities for the students' disappearance. And riot police used tear gas, but no arrests or injuries were actually reported. The incumbent president of Kazakhstan has won the country's presidential election with a landslide 97.7% of the vote. Nursultan Nazarbayev has been leader of Kazakhstan, well, for over 25 years now. The vote was originally scheduled for next year, but was brought forward 2 months ago. No reason has been given for the change, though analysts believe the president was responding to the worsening economic situation in the country. Japan's prime minister has arrived in America for a week-long visit to show off the close ties between Washington and Tokyo. But the centerpiece of Shinzo Abe's trip is that of Japan's military ambitions. He'll travel from Boston to Silicon Valley, meeting big business chiefs on the way. But there are no trade or economic deals expected. It's actually all about upgrading joint military defense guidelines. And Tokyo's drive to boost its military role is the biggest change in Japanese security policy in decades. It's coming amid growing tensions over a territorial dispute with Beijing in both the East and South China Sea.
习近平检阅水兵仪仗队后登上敞篷车，在雄壮的阅兵曲中依次检阅了岳阳舰等舰艇。同志们好！
Let's show you what the Asia-Pacific region looks like in terms of the U.S. military presence there. Well, you can see it for yourself. There are thousands of American troops stationed across the region, hosted by Washington's partners who have territorial disputes with Beijing. So China is basically encircled by U.S. bases. And now the major announcement expected from Washington and Tokyo later today will be about Japan providing greater security support to the U.S. Asia specialist Tim Beale believes Japan is using the China threat as an excuse to get America on board with its remilitarization.
Japan is basically using China as an excuse, and it's using it because the only way the Americans will accept Japanese remilitarization is if they think that Japan can be used against China. So, I mean, the main point of American foreign policy, if you like, or one of the main points, is the containment of China. So Japan is a very important part of that. The military-industrial complex, of course, to some extent will benefit from Japanese remilitarization because it can sell arms to Japan. On the other hand, of course, the Japanese are very good at producing their own equipment, civil equipment and military equipment. Whilst the military-industrial complex has been happy to promote Japanese remilitarization, they may be less than happy at the consequences. They're going to be very, very tough competitors.
On our website for you this hour, RT.com, bringing dead galaxies back to life. Astronomers discover interstellar tsunamis can act as a defibrillator for red and dead galaxies. How does that work? The full write-up right now at RT.com. Also there this hour, the touching story of a Chinese student who's carried his disabled friend to and from school every single day for years. That's waiting for you right now at RT.com. For now on the program, the cost of a perfect Hollywood smile has become biting in Britain. So some people are clenching their teeth and becoming DIY dentists. RT's Anastasia Churkin are now examining the often painful pursuit.
One would think it's safe to assume that do-it-yourself dentistry in 21st century Western Europe is a thing of the past. Turns out, not so much. Take a look at these dental DIY kits, sold at pharmacies, online, and cheap pound shops across the country. A variety of tiny, allegedly easy-to-use little packs with temporary tooth-filling pastes and plastic applicators promising to get the job done, be it covering a hole or re-cementing a cap. These babies are flying off shelves all across the country.
Doesn't it come with instructions?
Tiny little ones, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Reports suggest that an entire 250,000 of filling kits are sold in the UK every year by just one of the bigger companies producing them. So what's the reason for this rising popularity? Well, professional dental work is just not accessible enough.
It's a little bit like saying how expensive is a car, how expensive is a house. There are lots of varying levels of quality and levels of care and customer service that you can get just like in any other service industry.
It's very time-consuming to register with a dentist at the National Health Service with lists filled to the brink. Waiting for an appointment can take weeks. In private practices, prices are through the roof. And dental service, even at the NHS, can hit a wallet hard, pushing Brits to take matters of the teeth literally into their own hands.
Well, it's a possibility. Certainly the cost of going to a dentist is pretty expensive, so yeah, it may work.
Do you think it's a good way to save some money?
I think so. Money is not everything, but health is wealth.
A little nuts. I think I would go to... No. I would definitely go to a professional.
Professional dentists are flabbergasted by the trend. They say the kits are intended only as an emergency go-to and could lead to serious consequences.
The risk is that you think that something is resolved, but actually underneath it's getting worse and worse, and a huge problem could arise later.
According to research conducted a couple of years ago by the British Dental Health Foundation, as many as 1 in 5 Brits said they'd be okay with pulling their own teeth or asking a friend for a helping hand if they could not afford a professional. So without changes to a complex and often hard to afford healthcare system, there's a risk that dental care could be heading back to the dark ages. Anastasia Churkina, RT, London.
It's RT International, live from Moscow. Up next, can Europe and Moscow find a way to work together on common threats? Sophie Shevardnadze asking the former foreign minister of the Czech Republic. Thanks for watching.